I don't know. Does anyone have a segue? Happy New Year.
We're here. We made it.
Uh, Forgive me for foregoing the Happy New Year.
Yes. May we all survive 2025.
Dear God, that's all we're trying to do.
Hi, friends.
Howdy, y'all.
Hello, all you space leather daddies.
And welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Culture Critic videos on YouTube.
I'm Josh Gosdin. I'm a big old nerd.
I'm Vera Wylde, and I do way too many things.
Yes, you do.
We're glad you're doing this thing with us today.
This is
Yes.
a fun thing to do as well.
Yes. Then you've returned now that we have not only do we have our regular leather daddy in costume, the Aeryn in the leather daddy suit, and we have the femdom Grayza. Thankfully, not assaulting John.
Hey, what a shock for her.
This show, I tell you, revisiting this as like a proper adult, as opposed to somebody in my early 20s when I first watched it all the way through. This has got to be one of the kinkiest shows that was ever permitted to attempt to hit a mainstream audience, and 100%. I love it.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So today we are talking about Promises. Promises was written by Richard Manning and directed by Jeff Bennett. This episode begins with our wandering crew reuniting with Moya. And surprise, not only Moya, but Aeryn too. But all's not well. It soon becomes clear that Aeryn is suffering from a sebation heat delirium. And there's another surprise. Enter Scorpius. He's somehow still not dead, but John and Dargo are ready to fix that. Except Aeryn makes them promise not to harm him. You see, Scorpy saved her and is helping with the heat delirium, and he's asked for asylum. Great! Another baddie wants to move in. But Scorpy isn't crass. He isn't looking for redemption. He just wants to protect John and his wormhole knowledge. At least that's what he says. Well, he can do that from inside a holding cell. Because right now, John and Aeryn are overdue for another of their intense heart-to-hearts. One which is interrupted by the arrival of a really, really big fucking ship. The commander, a grasshopper-faced alien named Ulam, demands Moya hand over the, quote, assassin Aeryn Sun. Elsewhere, on Grayza's command carrier, Raka and his crew are preparing Chekhov's Moya-killing missile, and having some petty office drama. Back on Moya, John wants answers, but Aeryn is giving none. So he and Dargo head over to the big fucking ship to bully them out of Ulam. Slight problem, Ulam uses holograms, so there's no way to know which one is really him. He tells them that Aeryn was part of a team that assassinated his people's leader. He can prove it because he infected the assassins with a heat delirium virus. He does have an antidote though, and he'll trade it if Aeryn names names. Just as the boys are negotiating, Aeryn gets on the comms and plans to shoot herself rather than surrender. Luckily, Rigel is there to knock her out. When she wakes up, she's still not giving answers, but John won't lose her again. That's when he decides it's time to talk to Scorpius. He finds Scorpius in his holding cell, getting acquainted with Sikozu. Scorpy can't help with Ulam, but he can help John eliminate another problem. Harvey. Oh, John is so ready for that, and with a jab to the brain and a cutscene, it's hasta la vista for the mental clone. That done, Scorpy has the inside intel on the Chekhov missile, and Sikozu has an idea about the really big fucking ship. It's actually a really tiny ship, masquerading as a really big fucking ship. Well, that changes things a bit. John and his crew stage a mock surrender to get Aeryn the antidote, and then take out the small crew, and force Ulam to reveal himself to shoot a body armor-wearing Aeryn. They knock him out and steal his ship-controlling doohickey, which Sikozu uses to make the ship a decoy Moya, just in time to fool the Moya-killing Chekhov missile. Better luck next time, Raka. Later, a healed Aeryn approaches John for the reconciliation talk, and that's when he asks her about the pregnancy and walks away. So, initial thoughts?
Vera?
I mean, season 4 is a little bit up and down. It definitely has the weakest opening. I actually kind of actively hate that opening 3-parter of this season. But when it hits really well. This one does a lot of good things for me. Scorpius is one of my favorite villains in media. So him becoming an active presence again is wonderful. Harvey is one of my favorite characters in all of media, full stop. And I love Harvey so much, and it's so difficult when you're talking to people who haven't seen the show to even attempt to explain what he is. Because even aside from the logistics, like, he doesn't even show up for a while, and you don't clearly understand what's going on for him even longer after that. So there's so much background to make any sense and explain why he's amazing. But Harvey, I absolutely adore. And I like the way that bringing Aeryn back into things doesn't immediately snap back to how it was before between her and John, and that the division between them feels organic and it feels natural given what has transpired between them and what they've gone through individually up until this point. The character progressions on, especially the characters who have been around since second season or earlier and on the show across the board are really, really great.
Man, I was really enjoying this episode. I loved the drama of it all. I do appreciate the, I guess, self-awareness of, here we have the big baddie joining Moya again, and John is like, what is it with peacekeepers and coming on board here? The Aeryn drama was a little, like, tedious, and the pilot being like, I can't properly remember what happened to us, but I know we're fine. Both of those, to me, felt like very transparent foreshadowing that I guess either could have been done better or I didn't need. Like, if the writers weren't prepared to have the characters answer the questions, don't have the other characters ask those questions. Instead, it'd be a end of the episode reveal where they all sit down together and they're like, "Oh, finally, Pilot, you never told us about your adventure." And Pilot being like, "Well, I can't seem to remember," and then kind of a thing. And this is me Monday morning quarterbacking, but it made it a little, like, jarring because they're normally better with their long form plotting than that. So
I can't remember whether or not that specific issue comes back majorly or if it is largely a glossing over. In defense of glossing over, like, the thing is, like, sometimes you set something up and then realize later we actually don't have anything interesting to do with that, but like, yes, we can't not address it. My favorite example of that is actually a show that gets referenced in this episode, which is Red Dwarf. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if either of you ever watched that.
Oh yeah,
I never have. No.
Okay, it is a British sci-fi comedy, and the end of the second season, one of the characters, all of the main characters are men, but one of them ends up pregnant, and that is the end of the second season. And when the writers sat down to write the next season, they realized they had no interesting takes that they actually wanted to do as a result of that. So it is covered in a text crawl at the start of the third season that, by design, scrolls by too fast to read.
So it's self-referential, it's self-aware.
Yes.
Yeah, they make something out of it.
And that show gets referenced here because towards the tail end, when after he's initially been shot, I forget his name, but the guy who's running the holographic ship.
Oolong T. Yeah.
I'm terrible with names, and I'm doubly terrible with alien and fantasy names.
Grasshopper face.
So when it's clear he's not quite dead yet, Crichton says, "Oh, look, it's Holly. Holly is the computer on Red Dwarf, and is a holographic computer, which is what the reference is."
I catch most of Crichton's references, but every once in a while I don't catch one because I've seen everything.
I've seen Red Dwarf. I can't believe you haven't. And and I still didn't catch that one. There's something to remedy in the future because that's classic. But
that show is something else.
I think Farscape has a habit which they've talked about at times. The way that they do season enders, they tend to write themselves into a quandary to try and figure out later, which sometimes works out exceptionally well and sometimes works out as bad.
Yeah, it's gone both ways on that.
I mean, I really like the first episode of the season, and I know Josh, you really enjoyed that, the one with on the dead Leviathan, and then there's the two-parter that just falls off a cliff.
Yes.
So yeah, I enjoy this one as well. Otherwise, it wasn't one that I had stuck in my memory, but then I was really enjoying the interesting directing choices because there's some really fun framing stuff that really just takes advantage of the the sort of two intense relationships going on, that we just have some really neat blocking with Aeryn and John, so it looks from the angle that we've got like they are right next to each other, but it's actually like he's actually behind her, and then there's at the end within the zigzag door with John and talking to Scorpius, and of course there's the Reservoir Dog stuff with Harvey. It is just delightful. And is this the end of Harvey? What do you think?
I'm very sad if it is. I mean, it seems like it, but he's like a bad penny. He keeps turning up. And especially with this show, I've learned not to write off the way that characters seem to be gone.
What I really appreciate with Harvey in this one is that we get some very stark and also some much more subtle reminders of the fact that however much fun Harvey is, because Harvey is so much goddamn fun.
He's a lot of fun.
He is, in fact, very dangerous. Like, I love Scorpius reminding John, like, I didn't kill Aeryn. The clone in your head did. Harvey killed her. I never did that. And then, if you're paying attention, you can realize, because there have been little flashes that Crichton has been getting, initially thinking of what Scorpius must have done to Aeryn when he first found her, assuming he tortured her and this other stuff. And then later he's talking to Aeryn when she first gets put into the coolant suit leather daddy outfit. And he starts having it, like, at the same time that he's talking to her for real, these visions of her looking more Scorpius-like and kind of taunting him. And at that point, hopefully, you realize, like, that's Harvey still messing with his head. Harvey's influence does not begin and end with scenes in which we actually see Harvey talk to John directly. Harvey can and does mess with his head constantly.
Yes.
Yeah. Harvey dresses up as Aeryn.
Yeah. Like, Harvey has developed a rapport with John as a method of self-preservation. Because if John dies, that's the end of him too. But that doesn't mean he has ever stopped fucking with him.
Yeah, like, he's not on John's side. Yeah, he's never been an ally of John.
Yeah, the only extent to which he's on John's side is that he does not want John to die.
Right.
But that's it.
So he's been he's been a tool that John has been forced to learn how to control. Or with varying degrees of success.
Yeah, to try. And also, I just love the way that it starts, because what did I tell you? No smoking in my head, because Harvey's smoking a cigarette. Whenever they banter, it is always my favorite stuff. I love it all so much.
I enjoyed the ride of this episode for sure, and I definitely enjoyed a lot. I mean, this whole episode actually had a lot of like meta commentary on the show. You know, Pilot being like, "Well, now I really miss Jewel" and stuff like that. You know, like it's very self-aware of what it is that they are doing and have done in a way that feels very fun to me.
So let's dig into the Oolong Aeryn plot of it all. My feeling about that is that I feel like we are missing flashbacks. Like it in a this is one of those like in most right most versions of this story you would have flashbacks to fill us in on the story and what she's been doing, and they don't give it to us. And I think that does sort of feel like it's missing.
I'm not, I mean, I understand that it can feel like it's missing. I actually think that was a deliberate choice because, like, it's right in the title, it's promises. The point is, you need to do this because I asked you to, and I need you to promise me this. And I've made other promises I need to keep. And delivering on something, like, if you're the kind of person who's going to be like, I made a promise and I'm going to keep it, which, like, you can have your conversations about at what point does that become a really? Come on. But if you set that conversation aside and take it at face value, that these characters take promises very seriously, then yeah, you are going to be asked to take a lot of stuff on faith because promises have been made and need to be kept, and they involve not giving you more information than that. And I think it's a way of keeping the audience on the back foot, similar to how John and the rest of the returning crew are on the back foot with this entire situation.
Like that read.
This episode definitely felt much more in John's POV than we've had in a while. And normally the show does a really good job of having a more omniscient narrative feel to it. You know, where we're not necessarily seeing everything from inside one character's head. And there's obvious episodes that are exceptions of that. But without spending a lot of time you know, in like a cartoon segue imagination of John's or something like that. This was very much tightly confined to John's experience of these characters and John's experience of these events. So from that perspective, it absolutely makes perfect sense that the audience is meant to be just as frustrated as John is about Aeryn not telling him everything and just saying like, John, you've got to trust me. And like, but, or just, you know, I've got time. Like, just run me through it real quick. I made promises. Did someone specifically say, hey, make sure you don't tell your potential baby daddy about what we're about to do? Like, what was the promise and why?
We don't know.
I know. And I'm just as frustrated about it as John is.
Oh yeah, no, the frustration is warranted, and it's one of those things. Also, when you deliberately frustrate your audience, that can bite you in the rear end. So I don't blame anyone for feeling like a little bit annoyed at that, because that's kind of the gamble that you take. It's one of the things that I often note about anytime a show introduces a character that is kind of designed to be deliberately annoying. Naranti, you run the risk.
I love the risk she punched her.
Yeah. When you create a character who's annoying to the characters that the audience identifies with, odds are the audience will find them annoying as well.
On that note, Sakozu.
I was going to say, look at you, Dawn Summers.
Because we are not annoyed by Sakozu, but they are.
Oh yeah, no, they are very annoyed at Sakozu. I find Sakozu interesting. Naranti, I'm not going to say Naranti never works. There are times that she works, but more often than not, I was like, oh God sake.
Yeah, and I think they really struggled with that with Jewel, but somehow they have nailed it with Sakozu.
Yeah, it works with, and honestly, it works with Rigel. Most of this crew really gets irritated with Rigel, but the show usually balances him really nicely. Although I don't remember this happening. He offers to torture Aeryn.
Mm-hmm. He was like, just let me, just give me 5 minutes. And they're like, no, Rigel. And he goes, all right, I had to ask.
Yeah, give me a half hour like with some kind of knife, and I'll get the answers out of her. And it's like, dude, the hell?
The last time you saw each other, not that long before the last time you saw each other, you were helping her through her grief. Now you are Rigel.
Rigel is the epitome of a character who will slip back into old habits at the drop of a hat.
Yes.
Well, he's also very like in a vein similar to Harvey. It's for Rigel, it's about self-preservation.
Yeah.
And especially in any number of instances where Aeryn has been the thin line between order and chaos for the crew, preserving Aeryn helps preserve Rigel.
Mm-hmm.
It was just such an odd moment. I was like, fuck, right. That's right. Whatever growth you go through, you will always quickly revert back.
Yes. He will always be Rigel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's not a flaw. That's not like, oh, the writers forgot their character development. No, the writers remembered that when push comes to shove, this is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. The thing about the frustration of it all is I think maybe that's good for masking this is the point where to me it starts to feel a bit frustrating that they're doing the will they won't they again. After everything we've done through, we're resetting to that. And it's for a reason. It makes sense character-wise, but it's also a little bit like, and you're doing this again? So I guess having that come in in an episode that gives us something else to feel frustrated by, it sort of, gives a little bit of...
And see, like, I'm not sure I would have read it as returning to the will they won't they. Like, I'm trying to think of a way to talk about this that doesn't like deal with knowledge of what happens later. But like my own kind of read on that was a little bit more along the lines of, this isn't a will they won't they. This is a okay, yeah, we can, but like stuff has to be processed, which is actually a big part of what I read with that moment with John pushing her on, basically confronting her with the notion that she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. He does that in a way that seems to read like he is assuming that if she had not already told him she was never going to, when the reality could very well be she's going to, but dude, give her a minute.
Or we even talked about it a few episodes ago, like, does she even know that she's pregnant? And I think that, the way that they played it in the finale, yeah, she probably knew she was pregnant.
Yeah, but like that is a fair question up to this point. It is being played, presuming that she knows she is. And like I kind of take that moment less as a will they won't they, and more as a like at this point, these two will always have some things that they will butt heads over. Like John wants an answer now, and she wants him to wait for her to be ready to tell him. And yeah.
Yeah, no, there are reasons, and like it's a will they won't they sort of moonlighting thing that comes from like the trauma journey, and it's more like, will they get over themselves enough to make it work? Which is again why I think this is like the queerest opposite sex romance ever.
Oh, they are the gayest straight couple on television.
But like there is a certain we are sort of resettling back into moonlighting from space in moonlighting with trauma in space, kind of.
A little bit. I mean, I guess part of the thing for me too is like I have never forgotten the fact that as far as Aeryn is concerned, the man she loved died, and this guy just looks like him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is that. Yeah, well, there'll be more to talk about what they do with Aeryn and John in the 4th season. It's just it's a little.
It's one of those things that I think is hard to balance, because I think it would have felt unearned if they had just like slipped back into a relationship too easily, but then trying to have there be some resistance without feeling like it's rolling things back to like a season 2 level. Trying to find that balance is tricky. Like for me, it works, but I also get why if the mix isn't quite landing for other folks.
I think it's just you feel the hand of the writer in this episode, and
That's what I'm saying.
maybe that's kind of necessary, and at least it's getting us out of the doldrums of the last three, the two-parter, and then the last. Well, the last episode wasn't exactly. It's getting us back to the good shit.
Look, let me put it this way: I'm glad I was given the option for this episode to come in on.
Feeling the hand of the writers is not always a bad thing. You know, sometimes it's putting the ethical or the moral question of the episode into right, clear context. Sometimes it's a kind of a self-referential, wink at the audience of like, here we go again, kids, kind of a thing. But when it feels like the writers are looking at you and saying like, hang on, give me a second, like I'm not ready, that's what frustrates me. And that's how the what I can only assume is foreshadowing for later plot developments is landing for me. And it sounds like that's how the moonlighting is landing for you a little bit, Sara. Like it's very like the writers are, asking us for patience, and you shouldn't have to do that in your storytelling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you say that, but this was also in the days of 22 episode seasons.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, we know they were Monday morning quarterbacking, and they were, this is laying track as the train is running, et cetera, and it is good.
It's very good. I enjoyed this episode.
This is the hazard of doing this kind of thing is we have to go, yeah, this is good. It's a little clunky hand of the writer thing, but like, let's get back to talking about some of the stuff that we liked in it then, or some of the interesting things that were brought up, because I think what's everybody's feelings about the thing that appears to be developing between our leather daddy and our Sputnik.
Oh,
the newest brat and the leather daddy. What are we thinking?
It feels very natural to me because Sikozu does not come in with all the baggage towards Scorpius that everybody else has, which is simultaneously to her benefit and her detriment, because it makes her more willing to listen to stuff that maybe the other people should be listening to, but also it means she really doesn't know who the hell she is messing with, and you kind of have to be nervous about how bad it's going to go when and if she realizes that.
They're both very similar in their aggressive self-interest. And Sikozu is very much like I have picked this port for these storms that I've been weathering lately, and this is not my family. These are not my friends. This is not my crew. This is me trying to make the best of the situation that I found myself stranded in. And I love that even Scorpius sticks up for the crew a little bit when she's like, they don't know what they're doing. They're it's a renegade pilot. It's a damaged Leviathan. And he's like, no, like they've kicked my ass several times. You should respect them.
This is a crew of idiots with a fraudulent pilot.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was her descriptor. And I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong, but Scorpius is a very good reminder of like, I have also previously underestimated them, and look where I am now.
And of course, Tiana rejected her quite strongly.
In a way that I love.
I love Tiana so much, and I love that especially because like a big thing of this with Tiana is Tiana doesn't like the way that Sikozu talked to Pilot,
right?
So Tiana's being defensive of Pilot, be like, "Bitch, back up."
Yeah,
and then like that little scene between Tiana and Pilot at the end, like that was so sweet.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Like, come on, that was amazing.
We'll get to that, but but I am quite fond of Sikozu's thirsty acting. Just, like so much every opportunity that the actor what's her name, Ray Hill looks at Scorpius, she just like is gonna milk every second of screen of reaction time to just be the thirstiest person on the horniest show on television.
Yeah, that sounds all right. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no way these two weren't going to hit it off.
Like I didn't think we were going to outdo the girl who was thirsting after Dargo on the working the red dust planet.
Oh my god.
Or the what John and Aeryn on with the sexy jazz.
Oh, I love the sexy jazz episode so much.
That was the last time you were with us. Was the sexy jazz?
Oh, the sexy jazz is amazing.
But somehow I think Sukozu actually outthirsts everyone.
She's got those. The actress has those orange contacts and is absolutely making them work for her in every scene. Like every time you see her, it's just unblinking, as wide as you could possibly can.
Oh yeah, she has the widest eyes.
Yeah,
And she's like licking her lips. It's just like, okay, brat, we get it.
You want to be disciplined? Just slow down.
Yeah, I really appreciate her, and yeah, I really appreciated Gianna this episode.
But it's good to have someone to play that with Scorpius. Now that he's not with Braca.
Oh, Braca. Do we want to talk about him and the Peacekeepers?
Yes, Braca and his petty office politics.
I like Braca best when he's with Scorpius, but I do like Braca in general. I like him as a recurring presence, and the fact that he's been on the show since the first season, just popping up now and then. Like, all right, you cool.
He does. That actor does a really good job with what he's given. And I also like the whole he's actually like a reasonable, level-headed peacekeeper captain. To Grace's annoyance, like she's like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you being nice to them?" And he's like, "We need the missile to work."
Yeah,
like for him, it's just so simple.
Grace is pissed that he was reasonable.
Yeah. She's like, why didn't you just torture them in the Aurora chair or something?
You will never last in this organization if you're going to be reasonable.
And then here he is lasting.
Yeah. Greza.
Greza. Well, Greza was better in this episode in a her very presence wasn't defensive kind of way.
I mean, like she still has the V-neck down to her fucking navel, but she was less actively rapey.
Yeah. To step up. The bar is so low for her.
Again,
it's a low bar.
I love a hot woman in a suit, but
I'm not a huge fan of Grey's. And I know there are some people who I don't want to say give it a pass, but are more accepting when it's done by villains because it's not like you're expected to be okay with it. No, but there's a difference between me seeing a villain do something that establishes their horribleness and just making me feel gross. There is a difference.
Oh, and they filmed it with the romancy
exactly.
It was bad. Yeah, I love the potential of Greyza. I do. I love that there is this, hot woman doing gender differently than all the other peacekeepers. So much potential.
Yeah. Oh well. But otherwise, I don't know. I kind of like the little glimpses we get across the show of the internal politics of the peacekeepers overall.
Mm-hmm.
Partly surely just because I find it interesting, and partially because it's a reminder that these are fascists and internal office backbiting and backstabbing is par for the course.
I feel like I should have started a count on the obnoxious pilots who get sent to suicide missions.
Yeah, like the disposable underlings in the peacekeepers.
Yeah.
But because Braca flew this one himself, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd like to work for Braca, fascism aside. But he seems very, very reasonable, very, very measured, and a lot less sycophantic now that Scorpius is not around.
Well, you are an American in 2025, so I suppose it's choose your version of fascism. And Braca is the less is the better
Yeah,
one.
if I have to pick my favorite fascist on this show,
Sorry, was that too real?
A little. A little.
I'm not just an American. I'm a Texan.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it's rough. So it's a rough, Wild West kind of a thing down here.
Now I'm trying to remember how much we've gotten of the Scarens like as a group. I know we've started seeing individuals since the second season.
Hardly any. We've only
Okay.
seen them pop up as like one-off villains.
There's gonna this isn't really a spoiler. There's gonna be a lot more of them.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
they are working currently figuring out better puppets for the Scarens.
Yes, it takes them a little while to figure that. Oh boy, this is going back a little ways, but I'm still so annoyed that the first time we ever see a Scaren, they filmed that thing in broad daylight over multiple scenes. Like, just put it in the goddamn shadows. Yeah, like you did that the second time you had a Scaren show up, but you'd already blown it by then.
Actually, I like that first Scaran design over the ones that we've gotten to see since then.
I like the design, but the mouth did not look. Trying to lip sync that mouth in broad daylight was a bad idea. But what's interesting about the Scarens later on, just as far as the fascism goes, is like they are also very fascist, but not specifically in the same way that the peacekeepers are. There are parallels, but also it's got to be like, oh, okay.
Yes, we did. We have seen his Scorpius's backstory, so we do know there are two flavors of fascism,
and they're very clearly being foreshadowed as an even worse threat than the peacekeepers that are out there.
Yeah, it's like I'm not saying that the political systems are meant to parallel this, but like it's like going into World War II and going, okay, there's the Soviets and there's the Nazis. If we have to side with one of these.
Who are we going to pick? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, Churchill and Hitler. Which of these white supremacists will we work with?
Valid.
I have pissed off the American viewers, and now I pissed off the English viewers.
As an American with a deeply English ancestry, fuck them both.
Yes, I likewise have an English ancestry, and yes.
I mean, same. My last name means where the geese live.
See,
Gosdin. Yeah.
If I felt like jumping through the hoops, I could be in the Mayflower Society. That is the extent of like how much bullshit my ancestors got up to. I had 3 ancestors come over on that goddamn boat.
My English ancestors were in the British Raj. They are the colonizers.
No, so were mine. Like I will never do it, but there's part of me like I would be the shame of the Mayflower Society. They would hate me so much.
Yeah, trolling would be the reason to do it.
It would be. I'm too lazy, but it's tempting sometimes. Anyway, we were talking about a space show, weren't we?
We're talking about fascism and got distracted by empire building.
Fascism is a distracting topic.
It's a cute little gimmick, given that the grasshopper faces, because I can't remember names. Given that they they kind of need a gimmick because they are just kind of there to be the issue of the moment. I kind of like the gimmick of it's actually a really small ship with a really small crew, just hologrammed to look much bigger, which in a way is also kind of hanging a lampshade on the fact that the interior set that we see is incredibly small, and it gets confirmed like, oh, this has got like a crew of 4, and 4 is the most of this alien that we see, because that's probably where they're like, it's not worth making more than 4 of these costumes, and so they actually bake it into the script.
This is what I'm saying. It's a very meta episode.
Well, it's a Ricky Manning episode, and he always has fun with like messing with tropes and things. He's an old Star Trek hand.
Mhm.
So it's not particularly surprising that he's like, I'm gonna do some lampshade hanging, and also a lot of pop culture references. We got the Holly, we got Buffy the Vampire Slayer reference.
Yeah,
Can I say something about the Buffy reference?
Yes.
Here's what's really funny about that to me. So it does track because John was flung into space in 99. But here's the thing. It really wasn't until quite a bit later that Buffy became a thing that like people thought academically about and carefully examined the writing of. 99 was season 3. So as far as he's concerned, at the point he left Earth, it was still, by most people's measure, that high school vampire show.
And yet, this is the second reference to it.
Yes. So clearly, this grown ass man has no issues with the fact that, like, I don't care what age group this is aimed for. I think this slaps. And I just love that as a detail. Like, you actually do the math on the timing of that. It's kind of both unlikely, but then immediately adorable that he was a fan of Buffy.
Well, I'll tell you, man, season 3, Buffy was dominating the WB. So he's definitely in the right era to be making his Buffy references.
Oh, fair enough. Though that said, like, again, he is not the target demographic for the WB at that point in time.
But it is like the writers were watching each other's shows. I don't know if the Buffy writers were watching Farscape. Oh, well, I do know that the Community writers did because they referenced. They have a Farscape reference thing at one point, but there's definitely there's a borrowing of tropes across.
Mhm.
Definitely, there's some inspiration, and yes, I do love that John Crichton is exactly the sort of guy who would have been watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer because he just likes nerdy shit, and he has no shame about the nerdy shit.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that actually wonders, does he get, because you'd think he'd back off the pop culture references, given that nobody in the room ever gets them. Part of me wonders if he's actually gotten looser with them because he knows nobody's going to judge him for what he's referencing.
For his accuracy.
I think it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that too, for sure.
Yeah, he's just like, it's just his thing, and nobody understands what the fuck he's talking about no matter what he says, so you may as well quote Klingon at the aliens. Yes.
He's such a nerd.
It helps him stay grounded and connected to his humanity, much like many of us who make pop culture references throughout their daily lives.
Indeed. Was that a Stargate reference? Perhaps. No, I just like saying indeed.
The word indeed, the word logical, like they all have. You can't say that without somebody being like, indeed. That was my teal compression.
Fascinating. Trying to think if there was anything else. Trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to be sure to hit with this. It's honestly, I just like seeing Scorpius being like, I don't know what to make of what you're doing anymore. I think that's part of why. It's another part of my distaste for that two-parter is this putting Scorpius, like trying to put him at the lowest point possible and making him a literal bootlicker. And I'm like, that's not an interesting thing to do with him. Whereas something like this, where like, okay, yes, they've captured him. That does not make him any less dangerous. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of dynamic I'm here for with him.
The only interesting thing about the whole making him a bootlicker thing was that John was pitying him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything else about that was just.
Yeah.
Everything else about that whole thing.
That whole stretch is weird choices were made.
So who haven't we talked about? Well, Dargo was doing some good Wing Manning.
Yeah, Dargo was Dargoing.
Yeah.
I'd like it's always my favorite thing that like in the first season, and they sell it really well that in the first season they have a scene where it's like we're never gonna be friends, and then by this point they're just the broiest of space bros.
Literal
Loathing.
Yeah.
Unadulterated loathing.
Ooh, it's all right.
I like we were going to get through without a reference. Anyway. Yeah, no, I love their bromance. It's so good. And then, yes, we have the lovely scene with Gianna and Pilot.
Yes, it was so good. I liked it very much.
Yeah.
Made me very happy. So I have had I have had a very protective perspective on Pilot ever since 4 of his closest friends got together and cut his fucking arm off.
Yeah.
And then not one of them apologized for it, except for Dargo played him a sad song to tell him that he was sad that he did it. And I don't think Gianna would have cut his arm off. I'm not sure
Dargo was capable of apologizing as a character at the point that happened.
He said he wasn't. He said that the Luxons don't.
I got to tell you, I would have higher standards for my friends if they dismembered me. Like I would say, if you're capable of sawing my arm off, you should be capable of apologizing for it. But Gianna never would. I don't think Gianna would dismember Pilot.
No, Gianna wouldn't.
And that makes me very happy.
So yeah, the things you can only do with a puppet is things like he puts his hand on hers.
Mm-hmm. And then she rubs his little nose.
Yeah.
Oh god, today Pilot would be CGI and it would not be anywhere near as good.
Not in a Henson production, he wouldn't.
Oh, well, fair, but like broadly speaking, where tech is.
This is why we need more Henson production.
Yeah, it is. But I always really liked Pilot because the thing is, and this is kind of true of the whole crew, but I think it's often most evident with Pilot, which is that from any objective standpoint, you are not the best person for this job. You are a ball of anxiety. I would say a walking ball of anxiety, but you can't even get up to take a walk and calm yourself. You're literally rooted to the floor. So, like, oh, dude.
He really wanted to see the stars.
I know. I've always felt for Pilot. I love Pilot.
So what do we think of Pilot's request?
For a captain? Honestly, in hindsight, I'm kind of shocked it took him this long to be like, can you please just pick one person to issue the orders, for crying out loud?
Yeah, no, it's about damn time. And I have enjoyed, I will say I have enjoyed the character opportunities that came with keeping the ensemble flat and not making it hierarchical. Like that has been a lot of fun as a new fan of Farscape these last 3 seasons. But there have been so many times where one character has just hijacked the ship for any number of things, both trivial and melodramatic. And Pilot has just been sort of like, John Crichton has taken over control. And he's like, whatever, just going with, Rigel has taken over control. So it also makes perfect character sense and storytelling sense that we're finally fucking getting a captain. Yeah. And I'm very excited to see who it's going to be, because I don't think it's going to be John, because John is the obvious choice.
I was going to ask, do you have predictions? We both know who it is.
Of course, you both know.
Do you have a prediction as to who it will be?
I think it's going to be between Dargo and Aeryn. Because, like, John is, as an audience, we understand that John is the main character. So I don't think it's going to be John, because Farscape has taught me by now to not expect the typical from this show.
One of my favorite things about this show, and especially because it counters an issue I have with so many sci-fi stories, is that humans are not special. Like, John is like, this show frequently points out how shit John is at the stuff they need to do. It's one of my favorite moments.
Humans are superior.
Exactly. I love Crackers Don't Matter is what I call my test episode for people. I'm like, if you don't want to like start at the beginning and commit when you're not sure you're going to like it, watch this episode, because I feel like that one is fairly self-contained and gives you a taste of how bonkers it's gonna get. If that's your jam, start at the beginning and keep watching. But like, I love that they all can read this tiny ass type on this thing across the room, and he's like, "What? Huh? Humans suck." Like, the only reason he's special is he just happens to have this knowledge in his brain, and he can kind of think on his feet. But as far as intrinsic value, he has none. He sucks. And I love that as someone who is so sick of especially space set sci-fi, where it's always like, oh, humans, they are the most fascinating, or the most this, or like somehow the most diverse, because every other species is a planet of hats where they're all exactly the same. I'm like, God, I hate that. Like, John, oh no, John's a disaster. He's a disaster who can improvise, but he's a disaster. And I love that he's our avatar on this thing.
I think it is the ability to improvise that makes him kind of special.
Yeah, but I would say that makes him special. It never feels like it's attributed to like, oh, a quality of mankind, because fuck that shit, we're awful. It feels like something very specific to him.
I like the idea that it's his adaptability that makes him special. It's very different than the like hero's journey of it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's much less on the hero's journey and much more on the 3-hour tour.
He is Dorothy Gale.
Yes. He is, what the fuck is going on?
If Dorothy Gale made pop culture references.
So, are you ready to hear the title of the next episode, or do we have anything else on this one?
I think I hit all the points I wanted to hit on this.
Rock and roll.
Okay. Next episode is Natural Selection.
Okay.
Any thoughts on what might occur?
I mean, we'll get a captain, hopefully, but body horror. Body horror. If this show has taught me anything, it's that it's going to have more body horror than I'm ready for.
I am actually wrong. It is called Natural Election.
I was just double checking that. I was about to correct you.
I am a very bad host.
You are a very good host.
I am sick to death of election.
What are you, an American?
No, we have one this year.
Very excited about this next episode either way.
Okay. If you were going to say we're excited about next election, I would be.
I mean, yes, I can't get here soon enough.
Optimistic of you to assume we'll ever have one ever again.
I have to stay optimistic. I live in Texas.
Bless your heart.
Yes, Sara, that is the correct noise.
That little that noise. I feel like I want to make that my ringtone now. It's very
guys don't follow Canadian politics. So, listeners, literally the day after we recorded this, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation.
I was going to say that noise was very Tina Belcher.
No. We have the grand privilege of not having to do that because you guys are a lot less likely to blow up the planet than we are.
You haven't met the guy who's about to come in
statistically speaking.
Yeah, no, apologies. I know everything's getting worse everywhere. Although, like, I on behalf of this country, I apologize the fact that every other country has to deal with not only their own politics, but America's as well. Whereas we have the privilege of ignoring the whole lot of you.
Yeah, it's very much like, so sorry we keep getting the damn dog on your lawn. Sorry about that.
No, it's the meth lab downstairs.
But also that.
But we're about we may possibly this year get the guy who wants to be JD Vance. JD Vance from Wish, maybe our next prime minister.
Not even JD Vance wants to be JD Vance.
I'm gonna have to update my what country to flee to list and ranking.
Yeah, Canada's coming off.
Yes. Maybe we can pull it off. I don't know. I don't have high hopes.
Again,
BC
statistically
secession,
speaking,
anyone? I don't know. Okay.
don't do not say that word.
Cascadia, yeah. We have wandered way off topic. That's what we get for putting the word election in a title. But anyway,
this is supposed to be my escapist sci-fi. What are you doing?
we will be joined for that one by my fellow Canadian Finn from Swolson.
Yay, love Finn.
Yes, Finn is delightful. So he will be joining us in the next recording, and we will be discussing natural election. What was your favorite part of this episode?
Honestly, it's just the Harvey stuff. Harvey is truly, legitimately one of my favorite things in entertainment in any medium. I adore the idea of him. I love that Wayne Pygram gets to play two incredibly different versions of the same character, and he's so good at it. And I adore Harvey, and literally any scene he's in, if it's in an episode, that's probably going to be my favorite scene. And I love that his response to realizing he was going to get erased out of John's mind was just to put the sunglasses on and go, no hesitation. Like, you son of a couldn't even give him the satisfaction of begging for your life, you little shit.
For me, it was the last scene between Chiana and Pilot that just hit me in all the comfy feels.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah, Sara.
I think that was going to be mine. I'm not sure, maybe. I think in this episode, it's the direction. It's the scene with John and Scorpy in the zigzag thing was just. I was just going, wow, that's so. Just the visuals of it and the while they're talking about, do you like the thing of like, do you actually know where Earth is? Sort of just, and the way that it sort of called back to me to the conversation that he had with Grace.
I was about to say,
and the single tier and the male bonding and but it's really different this time, and I think part of the blocking, and the zigzag kind of helps with the because there are bars in the way in a different way than there were with Grace, and it's telling us that there are parallels, but it's not the same. They're telling us this is not going to be another Grace situation. But what is the situation going to be? We don't know.
We don't know.
You want to make any potential predictions as to where the Scorpius aboard Moya is going to
go? I honestly have no idea where it's going to go, and I'm very excited about that.
Vera, do you want to make any fake predictions?
Scorpius is going to become the ship's cook, and take over the galley, and he's going to start acting like Gordon Ramsay.
Okay, my fake prediction is he's going to do the crew musical, and they're going to stage company to try and get Aeryn and John over their shit. with a little Sondheim, can you just see Scorpio doing a little Sondheim? Yeah, he'll do the I'm not getting married today with a little soft shoe.
With a little soft shoe.
Yeah,
love it.
Okay, well, I think that's us. Thank you again, Vera, for joining us. You're a wonderful guest as always. And would you like to do your rundown of all the crazy things that you do?
Where can people find you?
Too many places. Okay. There's two main categories of stuff and then a bunch of specific platforms. There is the geeky stuff, and you can look for Council of Geeks. I have a Patreon, which actually pays my bills. This is my full-time job. But the main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. That has videos currently still every week, Saturday videos on a variety of topics, be they about specific franchises and the status of things. So I also cover LGBTQIA plus representation as a broad topic, or about specific instances as that comes up. There is also Council of Geeks content on Instagram, Blue Sky. I stream on Twitch on Wednesdays and Fridays. I play video games and interact with the chat on there. There is the secondary channel, Break Room of Geeks, which is what my unscripted ramblings about whatever I have seen, watched, played, read, or listened to lately that I feel like talking about. There is the Council of Geeks podcast, which I usually don't remember to plug when I appear elsewhere, because I normally go through this list at the tail end of that podcast. So I have to remember to do it here. That I do with Jesse Gender. We are, I don't know when this episode is going to go live, but we are either about to or have just recently finished up watching everything related to Babylon 5, meaning the entire 5 seasons of the show, all of Crusade, the spinoff, and then the movies that came out related to it, and are going to be kicking off with Battlestar Galactica, which Jesse has seen and I have not. And the podcast feed is going to be renamed Frack This Podcast once that launches. So that is all of the geeky stuff.
It's pretty good.
There is also the spicy stuff. And if you
Getting
are,
better?
well, if you are interested in why I find this show being as kinky as it is so fascinating, and why that kind of resonates with me on multiple levels, if that's a rabbit hole you feel like going down, you can look for Vera Wylde. Wylde is spelled Wylde. And while the spice level will vary on some of these, you will find content on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky. I am off Twitter. Fuck that platform. And then if you want to get the true full spice and max out the Scoville, you can look for Vera Wylde on OnlyFans, ManyVids, Clips for Sale.
Amazing.
I need a nap just hearing you run that down.
I said at the start, I do too much. I am well aware of that. It's a problem.
But if you're doing Battlestar Galactica, I think you need to get a little red dress.
Noted.
There is a very iconic little red dress.
Yes, there is.
Josh, where can people find you?
Not nearly as many places doing not nearly as wide a variety of things. I am a simple, humble nerd who does this, and I'm very grateful for it. Have really been enjoying it these last several years. But mostly you can find me over on Instagram at Josh Gosdin. Come on over there for a safe and comfortable refuge from the tide and pull of the world today. And we'll make some food together. We'll talk about self-care together. And we'll just have a soft little time together.
Lovely.
Sara?
Also, be aware, the reason my list is so long is a direct result of ADHD. That is the reason that list is so long.
This is also
Beautiful.
the reason why I have like a million half-finished scripts, but I'm not sure what I'm actually going to put out. And because anyway, I'm Sara Ezzat. You can find me at the Fat Culture Critic on YouTube. I am going to figure out how to write a script again and put the thing in the thing. I'm currently very obsessed with Wicked, so there's probably going to be something about that. You know, may as well, because everybody is, and I liked it. So, I don't know. You can still watch our wonderful Midsummer's Night Dream, or not? That was in the spring. You can still watch that, but you can also still watch our Much Ado About Nothing that we did just before Christmas, on live on my channel, which we did as a fundraiser for Trans Lifeline, and there's still a link on there for Trans Lifeline. We raised in total $1,400.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how's that for showing people that trans lives matter.
Damn right.
Pretty damn good.
Because they do.
Damn right.
And you will see the delightful Vera playing Benedict.
I love that has become a thing now. I made such a point right before we started of noting that despite the fact that frequently people call him Benedict, there is no T in the spelling in the play. It is DICK at the end of that. And so I made a point of it, and everybody hit Dick really hard anytime it came up. And I'm so proud of all of you.
As would happen when it comes up.
Yes. There's something about things coming up and getting there we go. There's something there, and my brain is not connecting to make the actual joke, so I'm just drawing attention to it.
That's okay. Sometimes it doesn't always penetrate. That's fine.
Sometimes you got to hang a lampshade.
Sometimes you just shrug your shoulders and go, "There's a dick joke in there somewhere," and move on.
There's always a dick joke in there somewhere.
If it's Shakespeare, yes, there is.
I was going to say, Will knew what he was doing.
Yes, well, there's also a Yannick joke in the name, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Anyway, that was a lot of fun, and we're gonna do more of. I want to do more stuff like that because I really love producing, almost more than doing the rest of the stuff. So we will.
I love doing it. I know we're trying to wrap up, but I had an amazing time playing Benedict, which is a part I'd never considered myself for playing, but I had an absolute blast doing. But before that, you did Midsummer Night's Dream, and I really can't thank you enough for that. I have wanted to play Puck since high school. It has been 15 years of 25 years of my life that I've wanted to play that part, and you gave me the chance to do it and actually be seen by an audience doing it, and I really can't thank you enough.
I'm really surprised I'm the first person who went, "That's Puck." Of course that's Puck. Vera is Puck.
you may not have been, but there's always the issue of, being in an area where somebody's putting on the fucking play.
That's the good thing about this YouTube thingy.
I know. It's lovely.
Anyway, we are tangenting.
It happens when I'm around. ADHD, did I mention?
Yes, 2 out of 3 of us. So, with that, we'll thank you once again, Vera, for joining us. Thanks, folks, for this chaotic thing that we do because we love doing it. And we will be back in 2 weeks with natural election, and we will try to avoid talking about. We'll come up with some kind of penance for every time someone brings up the actual ones.
I'll tell you what, we're going to put a link in the description of that video where you guys get to donate every time we don't mention the election. That's how we'll incentivize it.
We'll put a link to the NDP's election fund.
No, I want the money.
I want I want PP to lose. So more than I want to eat. So, to be honest.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Have fun with that.
Of this.
Thanks, Vera.
Okay, folks. Bye.
Bye.
Be seeing you.
Hi, friends.
Howdy, y'all.
Hello, all you space leather daddies.
I'm Sara Ezzat. Welcome to Back.
Oh, no.
You made me mess up.
You're
Space
welcome.
Leather Daddies was perfect.
Okay, let's try that again.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, friends.
Howdy, y'all.
Hello, all you space leather daddies.
I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Fat Costume Codec. God damn.
Welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma.
Where is my head today? I Why am I so green? Stupid
I
green
appreciate
screen.
that you just sort of rolled both your YouTube titles into each other. The Fat Culture Costume Codex Critic.
Yes. Okay. Let's try that. What's more with feeling?